they're called higher. It's been a really flat week for US equities, despite some oscillation. The Dow's down 1.6%, but actually the S&P down 0.6%, the Nasdaq up 0.21% with one session to go. Again, everyone seems to be very comfortable. We'll put the board up again, and I'll squint at the camera, and I'll look at the number in a minute, but everyone seems very comfortable that we're going to get a rate cut next week in the States. I'm sure they're all right. I'm sure 94% of people are right, but data like this doesn't point to it. US producer prices rose 3% on the year in November. It is the biggest annual gain since February 2023. And now that was ahead of expectations from the economists as well, which they expected 2.6%. Traders, here we go. This is the board I have to squint at. Who of you can see that number at the top of that big column without squinting? Oh, all of you. Just me, is it? OK. Well, that says 94.2%. Near 95% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut from the Fed next week.
President-elect Trump became the first sitting or former president since Ronald Reagan to ring the opening bell on the New York Stock Exchange. He was invited after being named Times Person of the Year for a second time. Trump told a crowd of traders and executives that he was, quote, with you all the way as he pledged substantial tax cuts. Speaking to CNBC's Jim Cramer on the New York Stock Exchange floor, Trump gave this message to investors.
You're going to see some very good days ahead. A lot of incentives are going to be given. You saw yesterday a $1 billion investment that would give you very fast approvals. Nobody's come up with that one yet, although it seems pretty simple. I think you're going to have some great days ahead. We have to conclude a couple of bad wars that are going on. A lot of bad things are going on, but we'll get them done.
I don't know how much the inauguration is, but do we need to have it? I'm not being funny. We've already had him crowned by Wall Street, crowned by the business community as well. He's already had his coronation that looked like a coronation speech as well. I'm not being funny, but is Joe Biden around? I mean, historically, it's a very contentious period from the November election to the inauguration in late January. It's a very contentious period where the president-elect is very mindful that we have a president in the United States and is actually very careful not to step on his toes. And so much so that I did the anecdote earlier in the week that the Obama administration rang up the Trump administration in 2016 and said, can you not have all those international meetings after he spoke to Abe? And to be fair to the Trump administration, it's incoming. He said, yeah, OK, that's fair enough, I get it. This time around, it's like, no one seems. Is Joe Biden still in charge? Because all I see is Trump everywhere. Trump making policy. Trump talking about China. Trump talking about Zelensky and about Ukraine as well. Trump talking about Syria as well. And that's fine, because if the other guy's given up the ghost, then I get it. But historically, this is not what we see. Look at those faces. Oh, they love him, don't they?
As we talk about history, we're talking about a man who was president before, so he may not have the keys, but he knows what the keys look like. So
the whole point
he kind of has a way of operating. He's just fitting right back into those slippers they left at the White House last time around.
Is that he's a private citizen, and this is a domestic issue, by the way, but the Logan Act looks at relations of private citizens with foreign dignitaries as well. We covered that earlier in the week, and it's great. And if no one else wants to take the role of giving business confidence and talking about the future, then fine, he should take the job early, but that's my point. Why do we wait till January 20?
What we are seeing right now is very much confidence around Trump, and we started out the show asking whether it's peak Trump, peak markets, and whether there is something coming down the line in 2025. This is a line from one fund manager. US fund investors continue to methodically add to their domestic equity holdings weeks after the US election, and you can see why Trump was standing on Wall Street and why he was saying effectively he's got everyone's back, because he does. And the markets got Trump's back, Trump's got the markets back, everything's going in one direction. But we all know that markets do not move in one direction continuously. We know that there can be resets, and this was something that DataTrack also pointed out in their research the other day, saying that, while they're bullish, they do remain cognizant that there are many bricks in the markets in the current wall of worry. And they are saying, look, you've had other events, and they go right back to 1987, where sometimes there has been a pull forward, a doubling of some of the market action, therefore too many bets placed, and there are risks in terms of
don't be bullish then. Yeah, it's mealy mouth, isn't it? And it's mealy mouth from everyone. Oh, we're worried about this, but we're bullish. We're immediately worried about and all this commentary I'm seeing is about how it's going to unshackle America, how it's going to unleash America. America's economy is knocking the ball out of the park. And again, I'm not pro-Trump, I'm not pro-Biden. I'm not anti-Trump, I'm not anti-Biden. But the fact of the matter is, the US economy is knocking the ball out of the park compared with most Western economies. The US inflation rate is tame enough for the Federal Reserve to apparently be able to cut rates next week without risk of reigniting inflation, supposedly. So the US is in a good position. The US stock market, unbelievable levels. The number of days it's got to get to 20,000 for the Nasdaq has wiped the floor with the number of days it took to get from 5,000 to 10,000. It is a phenomenal performance. Yeah. What was so wrong for those moneymakers about the Biden administration? They all cleaned up, Karen.
Market is getting over its skis potentially, but the reality is there's often a Santa Claus rally at this time of year. Some seasonality kicks in as well. So will we have another move higher into year end?
That is it for Squawk Box. Up next, just doing a calf stretches this morning, is Sylvia Morrow. She'll be with you in a couple of minutes.